what's going on, everybody? This is Nick Gennusa. I had a really cool idea recently. I've been doing vlogs on my YouTube channel here for past like year and a half at the Nationals. Thought of an idea when I watched my GoPro from last weekend at Pleasure Valley Raceway. My Rip It Up Films GoPro. It was a qualifier lap. I got fourth in this qualifier, and I'm gonna call this Behind the Bars. And behind the bars is going to be me. I'm on iMovie right now. It's as big as I can make the screen of the riding part, which I'm going to be playing most of this video here. Don't any of this stuff to the left. Just ignore that. But I'm going to walk through a lap here with behind the bars, and I'm going to go step by step of a couple pointers. I know people have been asking me on and off the track or on social media, hey, do a how-to video or a jumping, turning, whatever technique. So, and I could definitely do that too, but this is going to be my point of view and kind of some pointers. I'm not going to give away everything, but some pointers of what I do. And I'm going to just try to point out some things that people might not realize from the other side of the fence. And what I mean the other side of the fence is sometimes when you're watching the pros ride or whoever ride, you could absolutely see things that we can't see and vice versa. So I'm going to show you kind of what it's like to be on the quad. Alright, so this GoPro starts. It's about 3 minutes long. I am in between a lap right now and qualifying, so basically I'm fooling around. I'm doing a wheelie right here. Fooling around, like I go qualifying. It's not a moto, so it's time qualifying. It's you're putting in the fastest lap, and your fastest lap you earn your gate pick. So out of the 16 or 17 guys there was, I got fourth in this, fourth fastest time. If you're unfamiliar with time qualifying, cool track. So I'm going to start with this section right here, and because I watched this a few times right now, I thought it'd be really cool to break this stuff down, go back and forth, pause. All right, so let me play this. You can watch it once, and I'll show you what I did. All right, I'm going to go back to this section that you just watched. That was an uphill quad right here. I'm going to go right to the face of the jump. And if you can kind of see the face of the jump right there, kind of has right about there. Couple different rut options. There's like 2 or 3 different ones. And there is frame marks. So frame marks aren't necessarily from suspension being too soft or too low. A lot of times that's correct, but this jump in specific, only because I remember it, did not have a very good transition. We were coming at this thing fourth gear wide open, and basically instead of it being pretty like gradual going up, it was just like you just hit. And that's why there's frame marks going up the lip of this jump, which makes it very dangerous. You just have to know how to do it. And this is what I'm going to show you how to do it, my technique here. So basically, fourth gear down this whole hill right here, wide open. And I want you to listen. I'll stop talking so you can listen. I let off at the bottom of the jump for like a quarter of a second. I don't do this often, but this lap in specific, I'm going to just explain why I did that. And so when I let off, like, this is why a lot of people crash on freestyle ramps, because when they hit them the first time, because they come at them, like people come up to a big ramp and they think they got to hit it so fast and they just bottom out, and then they either endo, go front end high, whatever you want to, whatever happens. So the point of me letting off for like a quarter of a second and then going like, and then back on it wide open. So as I let off, my suspension, all within like literally quarter, half second, my suspension dives. But when I go back, and it doesn't dive a lot, not like not like, it's not, I'm not trying to over exaggerate it, but when I let off, my suspension goes down, whether it's that inch or so. But when I go back wide open, I am like preloading. So basically, when I get back on the gas, my front suspension's lifting up. So instead of coming into the jump and I have, all this force and you come in wide open, I'm just going to hit bottom out, frame going up it, which could lead to not such a clean takeoff, which could get pretty ugly. So when I get back on the gas wide open, my bike kind of lifts up going into it. So I kind of get like a half inch to an inch more suspension going into it, which it can absorb it. So I actually don't frame going up it. And if I do, I probably didn't frame as bad as other people. Sometimes, I mean, it doesn't sound like the fastest technique for everything. I'm not saying this works for everything, but this jump in specific, I'm going to play this for you one or two more times, and you can listen to me. And this is what worked for me off this. Play it one more time. You got to just listen to my bike right at the bottom of this thing. Like, it's wide open. I'm off for, like, literally nothing. And then right back on. So it set me up really good. Going off that. I came off good. Front end high. Intentionally, I kept it up because it was kind of a hit right up top. Not the smoothest landing in the world, but all right. Next corner. Charged into this. This is pretty interesting right here. Now, I run a Hinson slipper clutch, and a slipper clutch it's kind of like a two-stroke. It's a lot less engine braking than the regular clutch. So if I'm coming into a turn and I downshift, it's not like the engine braking a regular clutch would have. So like you downshift and you're coasting a lot more. Some people hate it. It's a love-hate thing. You either really love it or hate it. I got on it and I actually loved it. And I've only been riding with them for last year was my first year. So the point of me telling you that is, if you can kind of see my finger, middle finger right there. But my middle finger's grabbing the clutch, and I'm feathering it through the turn. So I'm in third. It was kind of tight this turn, third gear. And let me see. Okay, so we got this roller, like drop-off thing next. This is really important in this section here. So you can hear me just feathering it through the turn. Watch this. All right, so I come off this thing right in that whole turn. I'm in third gear. Okay, I'm in third gear, going around this whole turn, and off this drop off. I actually, in this second I'm in the air, I upshift twice in the air here. I go from third to fifth gear in the air. It's not the first time I've done it. This jump in specific works because you're going so fast, you're going downhill, and it'll pull it. Like, you'll just go into fifth. So previous laps, I would drop off that in third and then shift up fourth in the air. But as soon as I landed, I already had so much speed going downhill. I just had to do it another shift to fifth. So it's like drop off, fourth, land, and then I would hear the bike still loud in fourth, and I'd go to fifth. So I actually was upshifting twice off this thing. You can even see me grab the clutch. Watch it again. Listen to the bike. And you can hear when I land, it's like the lowest of low gear, just pulling all the way through. And I actually hit this next thing fifth gear wide open. I overjumped this next thing this lap, but hey, it was fast. All right, so now here's the opposite. I'm in fifth gear going off this thing. I actually downshifted twice in the air and landed in third. So normal clutch, if you downshifted twice in the air, man, you would feel it. Like, you would land and your bike would just, like, the engine braking would be gnarly. In my opinion, it would be gnarly. I've done it. It's not recommended. So I down it all in this second of me in the air. I go from fifth to third with the clutch in. I think I go up. I go fourth, and then I grab the clutch third, but at the same time I'm hitting the rear brake. And you could see I dropped the front end because my front end's up a little bit. And then it kind of just, you hear the bike, roll. And that's me hitting the rear brake in the air. So listen to this. I go fifth to third, rear brake, all in this 1 second. This is why I like this segment behind the bars, because I can break down this little stuff that people don't see. Um, these aren't necessarily all riding techniques. These are just some techniques behind the bars. What a name. Off camber here. Look how close we were to the fans. Cool section. This had 3 split lines. All right, now you can see it. So they had a wall here. It wasn't really stopping many of us. We were crossing over. It's not cutting the track. The track people don't like when you do it. It's not the first time. Like, I mean, if you're trying to put in a fast lap and people are crossing over, you bet your butt I'm going to do it too to, score a fast lap. So we were climbing right over this wall here. It's still on the track. Is it legal? Yeah, it's legal, but it's a gray area. But you really, I don't think, would get docked if you pass somebody like that in race, because you didn't go off the track. You're still on the track. I was taking the high line here off camera. So you're turning. I mean, look how close we are to the fans right here. The thing is you're really not going to hit them because you're going up awkwardly around them. So you're turning nowhere near them. All right, this is where I'm going to start going through the small technique I do before these inside singles. And that's me basically rolling onto the throttle. I'm not even at the finish line yet. I started my fast lap like halfway before the finish line. I'll stop it there too. So these inside singles, super dry slick right here, as you can see. I'm basically sliding. You can kind of see my bars already turned, but the bike's pitched one way and my bars are pitched that way. So I'm sliding in. So if I were to come into this wide open off the gas and roll that roller off the gas, I would actually probably come off that thing really crooked. Here's the thing. John Natale, most people know who he is, told me years ago, which was your throttle is your traction control. And what John meant by that was, I mean, it goes for all aspects of racing, but mainly for like the hard pack stuff. So like if you're sliding, when you get back on the gas, it's like it starts gripping again. So as I'm coming through this corner sliding, you could hear me right before like the bottom of this single right here. You can kind of hear me roll back onto the gas, and it's like very, very low RPM, like 20% like low, but it's just to get that grip last second, just so I can come off that thing straight and track straight the way I want to pitch a bike off it. So might be tricky to hear, but let's see it. All right, so as soon as I came off that thing, it's just and that like little like me, that's like proof I was already on the gas, just that low RPM, and that's nothing more or less than just trying to get traction right here. Yeah, I mean that's literally me at the bottom, like right there on the gas. Here's this wall here. Just ducked, took some roost from the rider in front of me. Finish line section, nothing really. Go over here. Here's something pretty cool. I'm going to play this real quick. Same thing, little inside single, just right on the gas before it. Here we go. So, whip into a turn. You can see my bars are turned. The bike's already kind of pitched. Everyone's been begging me to do a whip video. I used to actually feel like I used to throw the bikes around a lot, but ever since I dislocated my shoulder, I could still do it. I'm just not as comfortable as landing sideways. It doesn't really feel good, and it's not great for your quad. The whips look cool, but Anyway, some turns like this, it's actually pretty important to do because we're literally landing up in this turn. So the point of whipping up into a turn and is like making your turn in the air. So instead of me jumping straight and then landing and then turning, if I could do 10 or 20% of my turn in the air or more, depending upon the size of the jump, as soon as I land, I'm just pivoted right in that direction. So to whip a quad sideways into a turn, it's you're not really going to come off the jump straight and then try to maneuver the bike in the air very easily. Whipping into a turn, throwing your bike off a lip is actually nothing more or less than turning at the top of the lip of the jump. And I mean like the slightest bit. I'm not telling you to try this and go off a jump and turn halfway up it. You'll probably do a 360 or a barrel roll. So try it like small jumps with a safe landing and turn right at the top. And then you'll get the feel to where your bike will start to literally turn as soon as you come off it. Like take this very slow if you're trying to do this yourself on a quad. Turn right at the top. Like I'm talking the last like foot or I mean, if you're going really fast, sometimes it's like the last 3 or 4 feet at the top, which happens fast. But the harder you go off that thing and the earlier you turn up the lip, the more you're going to come off that thing. This was like right at the top. It's almost, I'm looking at this. I almost can't even see it, but I know I do it. And my GoPro is not really like pointed down enough right here to where you can see it. Like a little bit, kind of. You can see it right there. Where my bars are a little bit turning to the left. So, anyway, look at how my bike was kind of already pitched. Already pitched in the air. And I'll play this for you as I go over the jump here. Listen to that inside single. Same thing after I landed. Same little technique, just grabbing that traction right before. And this is really for the hard pack tracks, as I'm sliding into it, it kind of just like, so I'm sliding, and then it kind of like gets me back on track. Okay, up and over this roller, past the mechanics area. There's the guys on my, where'd I go? Here we go. Mechanics area right there to my right. Under the bridge. Whole shot I just passed, it was on my left. The famous, I don't know how famous it is. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it was cool. I like rough tracks. I like rough sections. So this track brought in sawdust. I'm not a huge fan of sawdust. I think it's just like, for some of the tracks that are just super hard pack, it's like the easiest way to make them rough because I think sand or getting a certain kind of sand or whatever on tracks out that way or whatever are harder to get. But sawdust is probably easier to get, so they dump it on the track and it mixes in better. Sawdust is like its own thing. Like, I know Muddy Creek, that's actually my least favorite track. Muddy Creek is big into the sawdust. I hate that because that was a decent hard pack track until all that. Basically, so like a sand track actually, like, it's soft, but like sawdust is like, it has like give to it and it's like spongy. It's like a weird feel. Like I'm trying to explain, it's like its own thing. It's not really, it's kind of like a wood chip feel, a little different. It's not like sand though. It's spongy. Like you can knife your front end pretty easy, and I don't know. I mean, it was cool. I didn't mind this section. I'm just trying to be a little picky about just trying to compare the two. So probably the roughest part of the track. All right, cool section here. I'll try to explain this pretty quick so I'm not talking for an hour on this section. So this was a downhill, not so much off camber. It was rough, choppy right here. And then right after this section, kind of like where them hay bales are up there, was like really, really tacky clay that had like no give to it. So it was actually pretty like, and like not a whole lot of rut either. Like you were kind of just like gripping the whole time. It was like twitchy though, but I made up a lot of time here on people in the races, and I'm just floating over these bumps and RPMs. I believe I'm in fourth gear here, if I take a guess, going down the hill. And even though I'm not wide open going over these, you're still better off. Sorry, I'm yawning. What time is it? Wow, 11 o'clock at night. Anyway, instead of like letting off coming into a turn, going over rollers or like over bumps coming into a turn, that's how braking bumps start. From people letting off, and it's their engine braking and bikes kicking, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger. But if you can stay on the gas over it, I'm not even saying wide open, like float over it, low low RPM, be going over way smoother. Oh, and stand up. I see people crash all the time in these sections where they come into it. It's like the perfect recipe, and I see it all the time. And like, I feel bad for the people that crash, but you're coming into a turn that has nothing but braking bumps. You're sitting down, number one, and you're off the gas, number two. So when you let off, sitting down, and then you hit that bump, and you're in the back of the seat, when your bike, the back end of your bike goes over, I don't care how like good your shocks are, when you get that kick and you're sitting down off the gas, you're going for a ride. That's why you got to stand up going through these sections and stay on the gas, low RPM, like that 10, 20%. I'm like giving this away in this video. Is that sometimes that little low RPM in some of these sections is better than people think. It's just my ride style, but listen to the bike. I mean, all the pro guys have different ride styles. Like, I watch Joel Hedrick, and he might not be like low RPM. He'll be like wide open, wide open, wide open. Like off the gas completely, and then like wide open, and I can like listen to it while I am behind him in a qualifier lap or a race or whatever. And then Chad has like his own riding style where it's just like real snappy. He rides it like it's kind of weird because it's like the way you're taught not to ride. I'm not taking anything away from it. It's like incredible his ride style. I'm giving the dude props if anything, because like when you're little, everyone's like, yeah, don't blip the throttle in the turns. And it's something I've always went away from. But I watch Chad ride, he just bop, 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 all through the turns. But like that's him just it's him. I understand it. It's kind of hard to explain. I think it has a lot to do with that slipper clutch he runs too, just keeping it engaged. Hopefully he watches this so he lets me know if I'm right or wrong, or maybe that's just his ride style. Anyway, one more time through here. Listen to the bike. All right, it's my favorite section on the track right here. Big whoops. We were doubling these things, fourth gear wide open. Saw a lot of people like not doubling these, and they were so much easier. I went through these one lap. It was super wet the first time, and I came through the next time, and I doubled them the first time. This goes, what I'm about to say goes for all whoops. This goes for tight whoops. This goes for big whoops, for people doubling them. All right. Where am I going to start? Right here. When people hit whoop sections and they're doubling through them on quads or dirt bikes, whatever, kind of the same concept here. People get when they're trying to double them, I've noticed like people, they jump the first one in and then they get scared and they pull up. And when they pull up, it like they think it's helping them because they're not dropping the front end, but actually it's hurting them because they're shorting themselves. So if your bike, I don't know how long our bikes are exactly, but say they're 6 feet, right? So when I want to land, and the landing's like here where my knuckle is, and I'm going to land into it, right? So my front wheels are like the front of my hand. If I'm pulling up, I'm already like, I'm shorting myself. So my back wheel's going to hit, and I'm going to go over. These whoops are nothing more or less than commitment. I'm not even talking about wide open. I hit these things wide open. Fourth gear, let off when I'm in the air, back on the gas at any moment I could. But commitment. Drop that front end. Like, I'm telling you, when you pull up in these, only when you're trying to double through whoops, when you pull up, you're shorting yourself. You're literally like going up, and you just lost like as much as it felt safer. You created a more dangerous situation. You literally need to drop the front end and like trust it, because you're gonna actually go further dropping the front end than you are pulling up. Think about it. When you pull up, your rear is gonna hit first, but your rear is how much shorter than the length to the front of your bike. Hopefully I explained that the right way. I mean, feel free to comment on this video of anything, because I can try to answer anything in the question, and I hope I can get some more GoPros this year, and do this like track per track because I think that people might be more into this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway, thought it'd be cool. Watch my bike here, dropping the front end, fourth gear on it. Like, and just because you drop the front end is one thing, but you got to commit. Like, it's a throttle, it's a commitment. So like the last two in that section were easy to double, but let me see. All right, I'm gonna try to jot through this slowly right here. You can kind of see frame per frame how I'm just like kind of pulling, and then I'm like really like maneuvering the bike, pushing it forward. It was tricky a little bit. I mean, I thought it was easy and tricky this section. It was like easy to get through, but like tricky to be perfect. So I'm basically like lifting and kind of going down and down and down, just so because the landings were short on these things. So watch again, fourth gear on it, dropping that front end, committing. Okay, that's that. Flat turn here. Where am I going? Let me shift this over. No, where'd I go? Oh, no. Glanced at my phone for a second. That's what happened. All right. Let's see. Right here. All right. Now we're in this turn. It was kind of dry slick right here. Not so much like a sidewall, but kind of at the same time, like it real dry slick, low RPM sliding into it, really tacky on the outside. So I kind of just slid into this and stayed on the gas. Down in. All right, here. Huh. Middle finger again. I guess that's my technique. I never really noticed it. All right. Other than that. All right, so I'm watching myself right now on this, and it looks like I went out a little bit too wide here, but stayed on the gas. So I didn't go off the track, but I went off a little bit wide. I'm kind of like in the rocky, like loamy stuff that's getting blown off from everyone else. When you go off the track sometimes a little bit, stay on the gas. Like, it's a small mistake I'll point out I made. Stay on the gas. Kind of did like an S back in, grabbed this inside rut right here. It was weird because this turn I remember was like so tacky. There was like no berm, and I like missed my rut that was like 3 inches high a couple laps, and I like went over the side. It was kind of annoying me all day. If you hit this too fast, you'd go right over it, and it wanted to like rip the bars out of your hand the whole time. A precision steering stabilizer would definitely help. I have one. And it definitely helped, but I'm just saying I couldn't imagine without one of those. Here we go. I'm in third gear. I know before I even watch this that I dropped off this thing because this is a drop off right here. Third to fourth. Let's listen. So you heard right when I hit the ground, it's like a slightly lower RPM. That's third to fourth. Charge into this. All right, inside single. I want you to listen to the engine right at the bottom, just floating-ish. Right here. Ready? Here we go. Listen to the engine right before I hit this thing. Just grabbing that traction last second. All right, so here's a little different one. I got on this one way earlier. So normally, see the frame marks there? Wow. Normally I'm like right here kind of guy, like right at the bottom top. This one sounds like I'm on it like almost like back here, which is like a 5-8 feet sooner. I'll listen to my bike. I don't know. The more I watch this, that sounds like it's like right here. Right here. Oh yeah. So that was early, which was good too. So, and there was traction there, so I was comfortable with it. Pretty sure. Here, drop off third, upshift fourth. Stay still in fourth. Back down to third in the air there. I'm going through this fast. All right, small mistake. Bet you no one saw it. Ready? So fourth gear here, downshift to third in the air. Now I'm in third. Low RPM off that single to grab traction. I think I was actually trying to go back up to fourth over that inside single, which did not quite work out. So I land, listen to my bike, I'm in third. You could hear it, ready? I just heard it. So I must have missed the shift right here. So here's the jump. Right there I was supposed to shift to fourth. I don't necessarily need the clutch in the air because there's no load on the engine, so it'll go right into the next gear. I miss a shift, land in third, and then I missed the power shift off. And power shifting is staying wide open on the gas, using the clutch, and going to the next gear, or not using the clutch. I would recommend, if you can get to it, and save your setup. All right. And then I let off for like a quarter second to make the shift, so we went into the next gear. So missed a shift over that, and then didn't power shift right there. That's, I think both those things all together could be a quarter to a half second just in that turn of a mistake. Missed a shift, let off in between those two shifts, like quarter second. Same technique. Listen to me hit the. Now we're back at a complete lap right here. Last section, you could watch me do this one more time. And listen to the bike how I let off last second and then get right back on it, just for the preload aspect. I like it. All right, now I'm going to play a full lap for you guys. Go back to main screen here. And hey, I hope this video helped. I'll play a full lap after this so you can watch the whole thing and comment what you guys think. Hopefully it helped. And that's it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you watching. Subscribe to this channel. Comment what you think. I want to hear some other pointers. I'll do it if I get the time, and I've been trying to make more time for this YouTube stuff. I'm not like the greatest at editing, I get it, but hey, it's what it is. Still trying. So, all right, guys, thanks. Appreciate it.